Yeah, so Kevin Tennant, I live here in Bedford County, and I'm actually a healthcare administrator. I went to Cascade High School, where I actually got started as a first responder through a program that Chad helped start, and that kind of actually started my whole trajectory into healthcare. Chad kind of helped start this program when I was in high school, they helped leverage a program for first responders in some of our county fire departments. I was able to be a student in one of those while I was still in high school through an Explorer program, and that actually created an environment where that fire department that I was doing that with gave a grant for me to be able to go to EMT school as part of this kind of back then there was an effort to try to kind of grow your own so we could have more people coming into the industry out of high school to help supplement a staffing crisis. The effort was quite successful, so I was able to go through that program. They actually gave me a grant to go to EMT school. I got hired at the ambulance service where they provided a grant to go to paramedic school, and the repayment for the grant is return in service. So by going to paramedic school, I committed to so many years working for the ambulance service as a paramedic. We were one of the first counties to go to a staffing model where ambulances were put in hot spots. We would look at call volume. He was analyzing data. I remember as a student coming in and seeing these heat maps with push pins before computers were really good at being able to do that. And he would heat map addresses with push pins, and the hottest areas is where we would try to put a station in. So we were on the front end of that trend. Today, that's pretty much the golden standard, is to put ambulance stations where call volume happens. But you have to understand, prior to that, there was one big station and everybody ran out of one station. And so while the people in the city would get a really good response time because we were right here on Union Street, there were times it would take us 45, 50 minutes to get to somewhere out in Wheel. Well, now we have stations everywhere, and he was able to cut response times to some of those locations in half or more. And that, to me, it was one of the big moves that helped. They're probably, under his leadership, was one of the most progressive ambulance services around in regards to education and helping others become educated and be aware of the industry. I'll tell you, I never once had that day where I was like, I want to be a paramedic. But opportunities kept presenting themselves when I was a student in school. And you follow them because they're exciting and people, are talking about it. And next thing you know, you're in the heat of it, helping do some of that. And by the time I had been there only a couple years, I actually became the first responder coordinator for Chad and was helping kind of foster the next generation of first responders that helped get me into there. And that's pretty unique. You don't see that in a lot of areas. The industry that I work in, I work with multiple counties over several states, and in the public safety sector as well. And we're not in as bad a shape in Bedford County as I would venture to say most counties are in. And I have to give credit partly to Chad and being able to have that kind of line in, and the groundwork laid something 20 years ago that provided an opportunity to keep our staffing crisis to a minimum in Bedford County today, which is pretty cool. I feel like we're actually going to be able to attract people to move here that will increase our demographic, that will help diversify our community in a way that is good for everybody. And honestly, there was a time where my wife and I were actually shopping for houses in other counties. And it was right about the time he ran the first time. And this is no joke, but he laid out kind of his agenda and his vision. And having been on the receiving end of seeing him follow his agendas with a passion, I've watched him morph Bedford County EMS into, hearses with drivers to a full-blown ALS service, nationally recognized. And so I know his commitment to those things. When I got to see kind of his plan for where we're heading, we stayed. I mean, we actually bought a new home here. So we're further invested here. And I feel like as people have the opportunity to really appreciate that we are going in a better direction, that things are going to get better, that our tax bases are going to increase, and we're going to have new options for dining, and which all comes with just growth, good growth, right? That doesn't come with just more people. That comes with attracting a certain kind of people and attracting a certain kind of income to help grow those things. And that's something we've been missing, and we're starting to see it. I mean, you can drive around and see a difference today than just his very first day in office. So am I excited about it? Absolutely. I mean, I had originally looked at moving my kids mainly because of the school system and the opportunities in the county. And I feel way better about that today, enough that I've invested significantly in a home and stayed. So, and I drive to downtown Nashville for a job. So it was in my interest originally to move, but it's one that, you kind of start to feel a sense of community again, and it's pretty neat to see. Because we have an actual trajectory, a plan, an agenda that's encompassing for everyone, that will pull everybody up, bring us all forward, and not leave anybody behind. And that it's an agenda that will fix all the corners of our economy, of our city, of our town, of our communities, not just one or two pockets that are strategically advantageous. Everybody's going to benefit by getting Chad in there. I honestly think that if somebody really wants to get to know Chad, all they got to do is meet him, right? I mean, he's not fake. There's no smoke screen there. Which how he acts, what he says, is who he is, and that's rare for any political position, especially, and it's very much welcomed. He genuinely invests in people that especially want to invest in themselves. He will provide every opportunity that he can to help others succeed, as long as their drive and passion matches his. And I could remember a time when we worked at the ambulance service together. He was the director at the time, and we were completely out of trucks. It was a really, really busy day, really bad day, and there was nobody. There were no trucks available, and a call came in for a sickness, and I remember. I don't remember exactly what the plan was, but nobody had really talked, and I was off that day, and I had drove up there to help take some of these calls. We were coming, a couple of us came in on our day off to help, and even those guys were out. So I was sitting there, but you can't take an ambulance by yourself. So I was waiting to see, and all of a sudden my phone rang, and Chad calls, and he's like, "Listen, man, I hear what's going on. I'll meet you there, and we'll do this together." And I'm like, "Okay," that's pretty rare. Your department head very rarely jumps on a truck with you and helps do those kind of things. But in the moment that we needed him the most, he showed up. And in the moment that those patients in the community needed him the most, he showed up. And he got in that truck in the pouring down rain, and he worked calls and helped us take patients to the hospital and get them taken care of, which is pretty cool. And that was one of the first interactions I had with him that wasn't so administrative. This was many years ago. And I remember thinking, man, if this guy's willing to do this, it just relit my fire and got me motivated and got me excited to do it again. And so I say that to say, he's the kind of guy that shows up when things get bad. He don't go missing. And he's the kind of guy that jumps in there with you when you need help. And I don't think we have to look far across the world stage to see a good leader that'll jump in when it's time. Vote Chad Graham.